Skull Buffs, baby.
Welcome on into another edition of SBS Basketball Live alongside Xavier Beginevitz, Aditya Mackham. He's Matt Spivak, and I'm Shane Holcomb, your host. This is the second edition of the show, guys. There was both the women's and the men's were in action last weekend. Two different tales in those games. Xavier, I'll start with you, though. First thoughts on the Oklahoma State win for J.R. Payne's squad.
So, although it was a home win, and it was a great home win, they need to figure out them road struggles, right? I mean, they lost in Stillwater to the same team, to Oklahoma State, right? They allowed a 10-0 run over 5 minutes when they were leading at one point. They allowed Staley Hurd to have 21 points on 3 for 6 shooting, right? But then they come home. They're leading by 19 at one point, and then they force the same Staley Hurd, who leads Oklahoma State in scoring, to 3 points and over from the field.
Well, Xavier, you're talking about the women's having a big lead in their game. The men, Matt, were kind of trailing the whole time against UCF. What did you see in that loss?
Yeah, big reason for why they were trailing was their perimeter defense. It was quite honestly terrible in that game. They let UCF shoot 10 for 13 from deep in that first half. UCF finished over 60% from the floor, shooting from deep in that game. And then on the offensive side of the ball, this team needs to drive into the paint more often and with more physicality. They were only 8 of 16 from their layup chances. They need to capitalize on those opportunities better.
Yeah, the defense is the biggest problem. No true leader on defense. No one takes pride in it. There's no leader. If the one team's not going to follow, the players have to follow a leader. And too many breakdowns of perimeter, like Matt said, and not enough stops for the momentum swings. Like, they could have gained momentum with some threes, back-to-back threes, but they never capitalized on whatever they wanted to do.
So I know I'm kind of, going from zero to scoping out a little bit. We talked about a good quad 2 win for the women, an opportunity for the men to get a good resume booster. They weren't able to get it done, but looking forward to reasonable expectations for the rest of the year. Xavier, J.R. Payne's squad, we'll get into a little bit later. They're on the bubble, and they have been this whole year, but expectations for the rest of the year, what are you looking at?
Well, if they figure out those aforementioned road struggles, right, and then they got some good home matchups, right? They got number 22 West Virginia. They got Texas Tech, who's ranked. And if they make some noise in the Big-12 tourney, they can 100% make March Madness. But it's only if they figure out those road struggles, because they haven't won a game on the road. And so, reasonably, I think they're going to just miss the cut for March Madness.
Well, we'll get into that on the Life on the Bubble segment a little bit later. Let's see if we'll pop that later, Xavier. But, Matt, for the men, it seems like every single game, their chances at making a postseason appearance kind of slender. Talking about 0-5 on the road for the women, the men have dropped 5 in a row.
Yeah, this men's squad should not be thinking about March Madness right now. They just need to be thinking about the next game, who's in their way next up, and they still have a lot of winnable games left on their schedule. They have 6 games left against teams at the bottom of this conference. They have Oklahoma State left, they have Kansas State, they have Utah, who they already beat once. So if the Buffs can string together 4 or 5 wins in those winnable games, that will be a huge confidence booster for them heading into that Big 12 tournament.
Yeah, I feel like you should be shifting focus towards young players like Isaiah, Taco, and Ayla McKelly. Prioritizing growth over chasing wins, because, Matt said March Madness is basically out of the window for this team. And use these games to, look at who is going to be here next year and going to be contributing more for Tadpole next year.
Well, talking about contributors, guys, obviously when it comes to guard play for the men, Isaiah and Barrington have kind of been carrying the load. And Matt, you and I will get into that a little bit later on our film breakdown. But obviously, too, there's some concerns, right? There's a reason, guys, that both Tad Boyle and J.R. Payne's teams are on the outside looking in. It's because they've been inconsistent in Big 12 play. So, Xavier, what are your concerns, especially with the women's squad?
Offensive identity, right? So, JR in the portal this offseason, she hit defensive hard. And they're a pretty solid defensive team, right? I mean, they'll allow players that are good scorers to score, right? But, I mean, they shoot 26% from three-point. They shoot 40% as a team, right? The motion offense, hate to break it to you, JR, it doesn't work.
It's a bit stagnant.
It's a bit stagnant, and they can't really find out what they are good at offensively, right? I mean, They're a big cutter team. They score in the paint, but it's lost them some games and led to some turnovers. You need to figure it out.
Well, especially in the fourth quarter, right? It seems like that offense on the road this season just hasn't been able to get over the hump for some of those wins. I mean, the UCF game last, I guess, 2 weekends ago now kind of stands out where they just can't really score the basketball in the fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, the fourth quarter woes are what's killing this team. I mean, Oklahoma State, they just got flat out hustled late, and that just can't happen.
Well, Aditya, moving on into the men's team, right? I mean, we talk about defensively, and Matt and I will get into a little bit on the film breakdown. There's a lot of things that can concern you right now. What's your biggest one, though, as they've dropped their last 5?
Yeah, as I aforementioned, lack of defensive pride. There's nobody to lead. There's nobody to follow. So at some point, I don't blame the team because they have to start putting in effort. There's no, they're reacting to defense instead of matching the team's pace and trying to control the game themselves. And their energy doesn't match their urgency, which they should be trying to winning games, but at this point, kind of long gone.
Yeah, like Aditya said, the defense is the biggest problem for this team. And Aditya was talking about the pride. In the past multiple press conferences, Tad Boyle has also been talking about the pride that he's seen his team showing on the defensive end, and him and his coaching staff are not happy with what they're looking at, the energy, the effort on that side of the ball. He mentioned that offensively, his players, they want to play, they love offense, and who doesn't, but defense wins games, defense wins championships, and that's something that this squad needs to focus more on.
And Matt, another game when they put up 85-plus points and came away with a loss, right? So that's something, again, that offense played really, really good on Saturday against UCF, and still they were out-muscled. But when it comes to the bubble, right, this is the conversation that especially comes into play with March Madness. And unfortunately for CU, both of these squads haven't really been involved in much of that conversation this year and last year. But Xavier, I'll start with you. The women are currently ranked number 52 in the net, which is a decent spot. Honestly, kind of better than I thought they would be with some of those losses. But what are some of the wins that stand out to you, and also some of the games that irk you right now, looking at their resume?
I mean, the games that irk me are Texas A&M game earlier this season, the Montana State game earlier this season. They lost to Montana State. They're leading by nearly 20 at home, right? When they're a great team at home, they lose that game on a last-second buzzer beater, just get out-hustled down the court for a layup, right? And the Texas A&M game, they should have won, right? Texas A&M's an 8-8 team. They should have won that game. But they have some quality losses, right? They lost to Louisville, who's now number 7 ranked, and they lost to them when they were 22 ranked in the fourth quarter woes, kind of showed them that game. And they lost to Baylor in Waco, right? But 1-3 in quad 3, that's not going to cut it.
No, and again, no quad 1 wins yet. But Matt, what do you see so far from J.R. Payne's squad?
Yeah, picking up off where Xavier left, the 1-3 in quad 3 is really what I circled. That's unacceptable for a team that wants to compete for Big 12 championships, go into March Madness, make a little bit of a run, and then they need to do better in quad 1 as well. No quad 1 wins. 1 or 2 would be a nice resume booster for them.
And sorry to cut you off, but Aditya, talking about where this team has struggled, which is the road victories, right? They've lacked it on any of them this season. So can this team win on the road, point blank?
Obviously, they have 2 road games coming up, Kansas and Kansas State. So if they can win one of those, I feel like they'll be able to make a case for their at-large bids. And for sure, defensive consistency will determine where they end up. And as you said, a road gap and where they gave up at Montana State, like they have to close out games pretty well. And according to bracketology, next 4 out, so they have some work to do.
Well, stay tuned later for our prediction segment because we'll actually get into that crucial game for the women's as they travel to Kansas later this weekend, and that's something that could be a really good resume booster for them. But Xavier, you talked about the games that CU has already dropped. What are some that going forward this women's team cannot lose if they want to be in contention still?
They just really cannot afford to lose games to teams that are worse than that, right? Because they have quality losses, and they can beat West Virginia and Texas Tech at home at the CU Event Center. But losing to UCF on the road, games like that against teams that are bottom of the barrel in the Big 12 is what is going to cost you in the postseason, is what's going to – when the voters are looking at who we're going to put in this tournament, they're going to be like, CU lost to UCF? That's a terrible loss.
Well, and Matt, talking about those road losses, right? I mean, you saw it at UCF. They were struggling against an inferior team. But not only are these games important for the NCAA tournament resume, but you're looking at a Big-12 conference tournament stand-ins, and they are 4-4 right now. Where do you see some of those opportunities that they can win, but also in turn really can't lose?
Yeah, really, the two I circled were at Houston and at Arizona. Those teams are combined 1-16 in their Big 12 games. So those are teams that are definitely below you in the standings and just inferior to your players. Those are must-win games for the Buffaloes.
I would say they need to prove they can execute late from when they're away from home, because at some point it's a mental issue for them. With the team has won on the game on the road. I feel like they're in their own heads at some point, and they need to get over the barrier sooner rather than later.
Well, the women's team can't win on the road. The men's team, Matt, can't win a game, period. So let's look into our film breakdown as our men's beat writer, Matt Spivak, and myself talk about some of the defensive woes for this basketball team. Welcome into this week's edition of Film Breakdown. This week, we're dissecting the men's team instead of the women's. Alongside me, I have SBS men's basketball beat writer, Matt Spivak. And Matt, Colorado's defense has been struggling all season, but especially highlighted against UCF on Sunday. The perimeter defense woes stuck out to you.
Yeah, it's great to be here with you, first of all. So let's look into this play real quick. Ball's in the corner over here. It's going to get passed out. Sebi and Bangkok Dak are both going to blitz, leaving some wide open guys over here. Ball's going to get passed to the open man, forcing Isaiah Johnson to leave his guy in the corner, come cover the guy with the ball, and then UCF's going to make one more good pass, find the open defender for an open three. Let's look at the next possession. Similar stuff here. Folks is going to get a ball screen kind of at the top of the key here, leaving Alon Makayeli and Barrington Hargress. Both of these Colorado defenders are going to take the ball, once again leaving Stillwater open, forcing, again, Isaiah Johnson to cover him and leave his defender for another wide open UCF three. Lastly, let's look at this next defensive clip. This is going to highlight some poor transition defense by the Buffaloes. You can see they're kind of lazily jogging back on defense, maybe a little bit lack of communication, not sure who they're going to pick up. That leaves a UCF guy to leak out once again to that corner three for a wide open three. So those were problems all night for the Buffaloes on the defensive side of the ball. In that first half, they allowed the UCF Knights to score 10 of their 13 attempted three-pointers, and the UCF Knights finished the game over 60% from the field, or from deep. That's not a winning recipe for the Buffaloes.
And that's right, Matt. And you talked about 10 of those threes, right, were in the first half. And even though this was a great shooting performance from UCF, they were helped out a whole lot by a lot of those clips we just showed. Those defenders don't have a hand in their face, right? So that's something that UCF kind of was able to prevail with, because this is a game that was back and forth, especially in that first half. And again, you score 86 points. Most of those games you think you're going to win, but that didn't happen for CU here. But I also want to get into as well, because there's some positives to take away from the recent play from CU, even though they have dropped 5 straight conference games. Matt, what do you see on the offensive end from the point guards especially?
Yeah, some good shot selection. Let's get into this clip right here. He's going to play off some defense. Jalen Holland gets a steal here. He's going to push the pace down the court, kind of force UCF into that poor transition defense. Maybe they don't know what they're doing, who they're going to pick up at this point. Holland recognizes that, passes it back to a wide open Barrington Hargress, who has been money from deep so far, and he cashes that. Let's go to another clip. This is really just a great play from the freshman Isaiah Johnson. He gets a wide open look here at the top of the three-point line. He's going to take that. He's not going to make it, but what he is going to do is he's going to follow his rebound, drive into the basket, force all those defenders' eyes on him, and he's going to kick it out to the wide open Sebastian Rancic for 3. That was a great play by freshman Isaiah Johnson. And then lastly, this, in my opinion, is the Buffalo's best play on offense in this game. Just great ball movement. Isaiah Johnson starts off with the ball at the top of the logo. He's going to pass it out to Barrington Hargress, who's going to quickly dish it to Jalen Holland. He's going to drive in, cause those defenders into the paint, get eyes on him. He's going to make a great pass to Sebastian Rancic open. That's a great look. You think he's going to shoot it? Nope. He wants a better pass, better look to Isaiah Johnson. That's a great look. You think he's going to shoot it? Nope. He wants an even better look. He's going to drive to the rim count the bucket and the foul and one. That was great ball movement by the Buffaloes and a great finish by Isaiah Johnson.
Well, that's right, Matt. And again, you're seeing kind of CU use UCF's recipe for success, right? Penetrate into the middle and dish out to your shooters outright. Ranchik, Hargress is someone who I think has really been better from three-point land recently, which has been CU's key to success in the offensive end. So, and with this, Matt, is how far do you think the guard play of especially Isaiah Johnson and Barrington Hargress can take this team? Because it's been a little tough in Big 12 play recently.
Yeah, as we've seen, unfortunately, it can't take this team very far. The offense has been good. The guards have played well, shooting efficiently. But at the end of the day, if you can't play defense, you can't win games, especially in this tough Big 12 conference. So to answer your question, the guard play cannot carry this team.
Well, thank you, Matt, for coming on with this week's edition of the Film Breakdown. We'll send you guys back to the desk. So much, Matt, for dissecting that Colorado men's defense. It hasn't been the best recently. It's definitely led to some of their losses. But it's time to talk about other games going on in the Big 12, guys, because especially on the men's side, there is an absolute blockbuster. Number 13, BYU travels to Kansas, who's number 14 in the country. Everyone's talking about this game. College game day is going to be here. Xavier, how do you see this one panning out?
Tell you what, Allen Fieldhouse is electric. I know BYU might be a better team, right? But I got faith that the Jayhawks will shut down everyone else besides AJ Devonsta, right? I mean, KU's got the fourth best defense in the Big 12. I think I got KU.
I mean, I feel like BYU's on a revenge game this game after losing to close number 1 Arizona undefeated. Playing with confidence after that, AJ Debonsta, Richie Saunders, Keba Keita, one of the most dangerous trios in the nation, let alone the Big 12. Even with Peterson back, I feel like even though it's an Allen Fieldhouse, BYU is going to feel motivated and take the win in Allen.
No, I'm not with you on this one, Aditya. Since the Jayhawks' slow conference start, they've been on fire. They've won their last 4 games, and with Darren Peterson back there, talented star freshman, I really got Kansas in this one. And I also think home court advantage is going to play a factor. BYU has been a little shaky on the road, losing to Texas Tech, scraping by Utah and Kansas State, two of the worst teams in this conference. I got Kansas in this one.
Well, college game day, like I said, we'll be there. And, guys, it seems like the game we're going to talk about next, U of A is kind of the big dog in the Big 12 and the men's, but BYU, Kansas are kind of vying for who's second best in that league. But we'll transition into that Arizona game. Obviously, guys, the number 1 team in the country, undefeated so far, but they go to their rival in Arizona State. These kind of games can always be a little bit more surprising than usual, but Xavier, is that how you see it panning out?
No. As much as I hate U of A,
hate, that's a strong word.
I can't stand U of A.
Jeez, all right.
But they're number 1 team in the nation for a reason. They're a great squad. ASU's bottom of the barrel. Wildcats by 30.
Yeah, Arizona's rolling, as you said, number 1, undefeated. Braden Burry's co-Pete, unbelievable players. Big over BYU, as I mentioned before. And even though it's a rivalry game, Territorial Cup, ASU still at the bottom of the Big 12 for a reason. So,
yeah, I can't stray very far from what these guys are saying here. Zona's undefeated. They're 6-0 against ranked opponents. Arizona State is 2-6 in the Big 12. Arizona by 30.
Well, guys, I don't want to throw any shade at CU men's team, but that's a squad that went into Tempe and won a game. So if I think they can win a game, again, I'm withholding my predictions, but all I'm going to say is transitive property, U of A could probably take it down. But again, you never know in that cup. So looking forward to the rivalry game this weekend. But guys, let's talk about the CU women's team. They traveled to Kansas on Sunday. Xavier, they haven't won there since 2006. So that's 2 decades ago. Everyone's talking about 2016 Black Beatles and whatnot, Mannequin Challenge. That's 10 years before. It's been a while.
It's been a minute. I was born in 2006. So that shows you how long it's really been. I'm 19 years old, right? I mean, we'll see if this women's team can win on the road, right? I mean, they play Kansas State before tomorrow, right? And I think that game will be really telling of what they can do against Kansas, because Kansas and Colorado are very similar teams in terms of record, in terms of kind of trying to find their offensive identity, right? But I think the road woes might continue, and game-losing choke from the Buffaloes once again. But once again, it's all dependent on that game against Wildcats.
I gotta disagree with you, Xavier. I feel like they're gonna shut down the haters, silence the critics, get their first road win, stay in game for their pussies and resume, bust by 10.
Xavier, like you said, this will be the Buffs' second straight away game. I think Colorado continues to struggle on the road. I got Kansas winning with Samaya Nichols bouncing back from a season-low 1-point performance in the team's last game against Kansas State.
Well, we talked about it earlier, guys, but CU women's are on the next 4 out section in bracketology. And this game against Kansas, you mentioned it, Xavier, they're very comparable resumes right now. So it'd be a big, not only in the Big-12 standings, but also postseason aspirations. But let's return to Boulder because Colorado men's team will host TCU on the same day, Sunday. Xavier, who you got? Can Colorado stop this losing skid? And by the way, they got to go to Iowa State first. We won't even mention that.
They're gonna lose 6 in a row. Or
That'd be 7.
That'd be 7, right? Yeah, I think they're gonna lose 7 in a row. I think the Horned Frog is gonna lose to Houston and Kelvin Sampson before that game, but they're gonna bounce back at the CUEC and just take out this struggling Buffs team.
Yeah, I mean, trending downward, possible 7th straight loss, probably definite 7th straight loss. And TCU more complete and balanced, one of the best names ever in college basketball. David Punch. Injury uncertainty with Malone, so no rim protection, so it's going to be TCU.
Man, you guys have no faith. Come on. Tomorrow night, the Buffs will be playing the number 8 ranked Iowa State Cyclones, barring any miracle that will be the Buffs' 6th straight loss. But with that being said, I got Colorado bouncing back at home against TCU. I will be there. I think they're going to be able to end their losing streak. It's a Sunday game. No football is on. CU Event Center should be packed and ready to go.
Well, looking forward to a huge slate, guys, of Big 12 basketball in the men's slate and also in the women's. College game day is going to Kansas. But again, there's not too much optimism around both of these Colorado teams, but this weekend can change a lot in the hopes of a postseason berth for the Colorado Buffaloes. That's going to be all, though, for tonight's edition of ScoBuff Sports Basketball Live. For Aditya, he's Matt, he's Xavier. I'm Shane, your host, saying good night.